When you think about summer 2024, what comes to mind? We were in the midst of Brat Summer, the Drake versus Kendrick beef was still fresh in everyone's minds, and Joe Biden had just tested positive for COVID-19. It was a time of economic uncertainty, political discord, and public dissatisfaction. You could say the world felt like a powder keg. But that's not the focus of this video. Today, I want to discuss a certain piece of Souls-like content that came out that fateful summer. I'm sure you can already guess which one I'm talking about. That's right. Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn was developed by A44 Games, published by Kepler Interactive, and released on July 18th, 2024 to mixed reviews, after which it traveled for 1 year, 8 months, and 4 days before ending up in my Steam cart. In the following video, I'm going to attempt to discuss my thoughts around this game. I set a goal this year to play a wider variety of games, instead of just sticking to the same few on repeat. So unfortunately, you, dear viewer, are going to have to deal with the consequences of that. Also, spoiler alert for Flintlock, obviously. So right off the bat, what is this game exactly? I would describe this game as a Souls-like. You've got your bosses, you've got your checkpoints, you've got your lost XP on death. I will say it's much easier than other Souls-likes I've played, so if you're looking to get into the Souls-like genre, but are worried some of the more classic titles might be too hard for you, maybe give this one a try. There's a skill tree that takes it a bit further away from the classic FromSoft titles and more into the realm of something like God of War or Black Myth Wukong. I'd say this game has a semi-open world. The game is kind of divided into these chapters that each take place in a new area. And once you beat the boss for that area, you just go on to the next one. It's not like you can go back to previous areas. At least I didn't find a way to. There's a lot to love about this game. If I had to pick one word to describe this game, I'd say stylish. I'll say right up top, the combat is pretty awesome. The strikes are weighty and impactful, but your character's movement itself still feels light and agile. Whenever you successfully parry an attack, the camera whips around to a different camera angle for the follow-up strike, which makes the combat feel super dynamic and stylish. There's also this really cool, like, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater style score multiplier system that actually determines how much XP you get from killing enemies. And this, of course, acts as an incentive to minimize how many hits you take and fight with more style and finesse. The platforming is another highlight of this game for me, which sounds insane to say about a Souls game. I mean, the platforming is usually my least favorite part. Like, oh my god, dude, those fuck-ass buttresses in Orlando, you get all the way there, past the huge dudes, past the brain guys, and you have to sneak up this like 3-foot wide strip of stone while these bitch-ass Silver Knights are shooting at you the whole time. And then once you get up to the top, there's one on either side of you, but you barely have any cover, so you have to just bum rush one of them and hope that you don't get knocked off by like a slight gust of wind, and God help you if you don't have a shield. It's just, nah, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not mad about it. I'm actually happy that's the way it is. I actually like it that way. Anyway, I'm pleased to report that platforming in Flintlock is a delightful experience. Your character is a lot more mobile, like you're able to double jump and air dodge, so the platforming actually ends up being more fun and satisfying than most other Souls games. And there's this cool mechanic where you can execute a double jump at the end of a long fall to not take damage. Gameplay-wise, I also like the spin that they put on shortcuts. As opposed to opening up doors or dropping ladders like with other Souls games, you can find these like podiums that open up rifts in space so that you can quickly travel between point A and point B. This often takes the form of going back to a previous checkpoint, so if you die, you can get back to where you were pretty easily. It fits well into the world building and is really aesthetically pleasing, so thumbs up from me. And that's another thing we gotta talk about. You cannot talk about this game without mentioning how absolutely stunning it looks. Like, look at these screenshots I took, bro. Look at this. The art direction of this game is outstanding. The game itself is super colorful. It's got this like Napoleonic Wars aesthetic going on. Like, all the uniforms are super cool to look at. There's various different environments and they're all rendered super beautifully. I love the way this game looks. 10 out of 10 on aesthetics. Additionally, the music in this game is absolutely banging. Some of the boss themes especially, oh my god, bro. Ramuha's theme, dog? Come on, shit's fire. Like when you're fighting a boss and the camera is whipping around and the boss theme is blasting, the sauce is undeniable. And that's what I mean when I say this game is stylish. This game is at its best when you're in the heat of combat, trading blows, going from one enemy to the next, and everything just kind of flows together. I'll wrap up this section by talking about something that I really liked that I did not expect to like, which was the characters and the story. The two main characters, Noor and Enki, are both super likable, and I found myself rooting for both of them. Noor is way more charismatic and fleshed out than your average Souls protagonist, which, I mean, isn't hard since most Souls protagonists don't talk, but regardless, it was a nice change of pace. I really liked the character of Enki too. I like that when we first meet him, he seems like fully benevolent, but as we learn more about him, we're not sure if we can trust him. It makes for some really interesting tension throughout the story. Also, the game does a good job of developing the relationship between Noor and Enki, so that by the end of the story, where each of these characters ends up is believable. Occasionally you get these nice little interactions between the characters that deepen their relationship and help us understand who they are, and this goes a long way towards making their bond believable too.
Boomf, gur.
Boom. Gore.
Front to back, let it roll. Boom, gur.
Boomth. Gore.
Boom.
You know what, let's just leave it.
So cute!
Now, let's get into what I didn't love about the game. First and foremost, the quantity and variety of bosses was a bit disappointing. I believe there were only like 4 main story bosses, and amongst them, the combat ended up feeling mostly the same. And there's nothing inherently wrong with having a very similar combat flow across bosses. Like Sekiro is my favorite game of all time, and the bosses in that game, for the most part, share very similar combat patterns, I guess you could say. And that's like the whole thing about the game's rhythm, right? Like that's why I love it so much. But the combat mechanics in Flintlock, while satisfying, aren't deep or complex enough to stay fresh across multiple boss fights. So I was definitely feeling the burnout a bit towards the end there. There are other non-story bosses, but most of them don't end up being very memorable. And some of them are even like hordes of enemies grouped together as a boss, like the fucking skeleton lords in Dark Souls 2, which is just kinda cheap in my opinion. Also, I didn't find myself with much incentive to explore during my playthrough. In a lot of other games, you're incentivized to explore by the possibility of finding new items, but there isn't very much build variety in this game, so the rewards you get for exploring are mostly like one of 3 or 4 types of upgrade materials. And again, a lack of build variety isn't necessarily a bad thing. Comparing it to Sekiro again, that game has like no build variety. It's just you and a sword. But the difference is the movement in Sekiro is so fluid and satisfying that it makes me want to explore just for the hell of it. Whereas the platforming in Flintlock, while also satisfying as I mentioned, probably isn't engaging enough on its own to compel most people to explore all the nooks and crannies of the map. And for a game that boasts such beautifully crafted environments, I think that's a shame. And finally, I feel like the guns could have been incorporated better. When I first saw the game, I was super excited because I expected the combat to be like half melee, half gunplay, but in reality it's like 80-20 in favor of melee, with the guns just being used for very specific situations. Not to mention it's fucking impossible to aim the musket with a controller or joystick, and you only get 3 shots in that thing before you need to go rest to get more. Like that musket had me feeling so washed every time I tried to use it.
Stay still. Oh fuck. Stay still, stay still, stay still. Stay still. Stay still, stay still, stay still. No!
Overall, I'd recommend Flintlock if you're looking to get into Souls games and you don't want to commit to grinding out a 50+ hour DS1 run, or if you're a Souls veteran who's looking to scratch that itch for Souls content. I did end up exploring every nook and cranny, and my playthrough took around 19 hours, so the game definitely doesn't overstay its welcome. I got it on sale for like $10, I think. Currently it's back up to $40 on Steam, but I recommend picking it up next time a sale rolls around. That's really all I've got to say about this game. If you do pick it up, leave a comment and let me know what you think. I'm interested to hear other people's experience with this game. If you liked what you saw here, please do leave a like and subscribe if you want to hear more from me in the future. And thank you for watching. Just kidding, 0 out of 10, no feet, no poison swamps.